There's a lot of conversation about what Big Four firms look for in trainees when hiring. In your opinion, what do you think they look for? Because I don't think anybody has a straightforward answer.
I was suddenly not allowed to be in certain rooms, and I was kicked off every Teams chat, every WhatsApp chat. And when you have such a lifelong dream, there's always the risk of it happening and it feeling like such a, is this it?
Hi guys, welcome back to the video. My name is Presh. I recently decided to start a series in which I interview several chartered accountants across the field to find out information on the paths they decided to pursue. And this series is starting off with a bang because in studio today,
Really?
in studio today, I have Nomtha Jako, a Big Four audit partner in South Africa. Hi, Nomtha.
Hi, Palesa. How are you?
Good, and you. Welcome to my channel.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations on making partner.
Have we not done the cutoff yet for those? But no, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
When I met you, you were an associate director.
Really?
Yes.
Which year was this?
I was fresh in my article, so I think it was like around 2 years ago.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yes,
Okay,
and
we're giving too much away.
Something that stood out was the fact that you were so down to earth. And this is evidence of that. So thank you so much for making the time to have this conversation.
Only a pleasure. You reached out. I saw your email. I was like, why would you want to talk to me?
Oh,
and then
I
I sat on it for a day, I promise you. And then a day later, I was like, do I want to do it? And then I forgot at some point. And then I'm so sorry for taking so long to get back to you, because there was a tug of war in my mind because I'm so shy. But I'm really happy to be here. You've got quite the intimidating setup going on here.
Not at all. This is just a convo between you and I.
Okay.
With some spectators.
I'll keep to just you and forget the cameras are here. But thank you for having me. It is only a pleasure. I love conversations like this. So when you said let's talk CA, I was like, why not?
Great. Why did you choose accounting? Why did you pursue it?
How much time do you have? I actually, it almost landed on my lap. So I was a very curious child. I remember I was in everyone's conversations. My parents were always talking about how I am the radio gogo of the family and I'm probably going to be a journalist. So for those few years in my life, everyone asked, what are you going to be? And this was like grade 1. I'm going to be a journalist. What is it? I don't know what it means, but my parents say I am, right? And then grade 4, it happened. My cousin who was living with us at the time, she was in high school. They had a visit from SAICA in their varsity, and they were handing out accounting textbooks. This is just the backstory. The only thing that interested me was just the cover on the accounting textbook was a computer keyboard.
Oh, interesting. I thought you were going to say money.
No. It was a computer keyboard. And at the time, I don't think we'd started doing computer sciences at school yet. We actually started in grade 4, so it was earlier that year. And there was this keyboard, and I was so fascinated by it, so I'd always just take a textbook and pretend to be typing something, whatever the case may be. And then I saw the SAICA logo, and she had all these caps and T-shirts, and I was like, what is this? And she told me about it. And then from that day onwards, anyone who asked me what I wanted to be, I'd tell them I want to be a chartered accountant. I wrote it in every single essay until I believed it.
And that was really early on.
Yeah.
That's
so by the time I was
amazing.
in grade 7, I think I'd gathered a little bit more information about it, and then that's how we're here. I decide and commit. My life is testimony to that. Yeah. So that's what it's been. It wasn't anything magical. It was just a decision made at a very young age, and I committed to it.
Young. Yeah. Did you think you'd make partner one day?
Yes.
Okay.
Am I allowed to say that? Yeah. I always knew. I don't know, but it's just I always wanted to be something.
Okay.
And beyond something, I wanted to be the best at that something. And at the time, partnership is what defined in my mind the best of the field that I wanted to go into. So I definitely always knew. I mean, in my first year of articles, my colleagues and the people I was training with, we all had the discussions of, do you stay in audit or not? Obviously, it was the fashionable thing to say, no, I wouldn't stay in audit, blah, blah. And everyone told me you'd stay.
That's the conversation.
That's the conversation. Everyone said, you're going to stay, you're going to make partner. They'd say it, and I'd try to be coy and shy, but I was like, no, I'm not going to. I knew.
But what did they see in you that made them think you'd make partner?
I think it was my interest and engagement in the work.
Okay.
So I always say to people, because I always get this, people tell me, you're so passionate about the job. And I think it's just my personality. And I always say, I don't think it would matter what it is I'm doing. I'd probably bring the same energy to it. It just so happens that this is what I'm doing. And so I am that passionate about it. So you know how articles is, you do what you're told, you get out. But I think because I'm always so curious, I'm the one person asked, why? Why?
And I got a sense of that at the training, actually, that
Really?
you were facilitating. Yes.
Really?
You were just asking so many questions. You were, answering everybody's questions.
Yeah, so I think it was because I was just always asking why and showing so much interest. So everyone was just like, oh, you love this. And in my mind, I was just like, it's just how I am.
Yeah.
But then the love developed.
Okay.
And then here we are.
And is it all that you've thought it would be?
And more, actually.
Okay.
It is. So I was saying to my friend, actually, when you have such a lifelong dream, there's always the risk of it happening and it feeling like such a, is this it? And I was saying, I haven't had that is this it moment yet. And it's been how many months now? I got my promotion in July. Well, officially, it was announced in July. And last year, 2023, I don't know when this is going to play. So
this week.
Yeah, so I've gone through the honeymoon, the lows, a bit of the highs, all of that good stuff, and I still haven't gotten to the spot of, is this all there was to it? Because every day is still so, what do you mean? What else is coming? So the interest level is still at its peak for me.
Okay.
Let me say high, not peak. So I don't have that, I must say.
And is there anything that came as a surprise to you?
In what way? Palestina?
I mean, I'm sure you had an image of what being a partner would be like. Is there something would be like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that in this role?
Do you know what? It continues to surprise me every day. When I joined the partnership, and even leading up, just the interviews that we had to do and all of that good stuff, there was this resounding sentiment that Nomtha, it is a partnership. And partnership is exactly that. You don't go at it alone, right? So in my mind, I was just like, it's just what they say. It's what they're told to do. And I have been so amazed at I've been surprised by how much partnership actually means partnership.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, I am the director in charge of a particular engagement, the partner on a particular job, whatever the case may be. But just, I suppose the environment of partnership and the support I get, right, is so loud. And I didn't think it would be that way. I thought everyone would be in their little corners, trying to be great on their own, coming together to report on what they've done. And it has not been that. It is a conversation, people holding you. It's the safest space I've found myself, to be honest. And I didn't expect it.
That is so special. So you guys turn to each other.
We turn to each other. You know how I was telling a friend of mine, because they'll ask you what's been different, and I keep joking and I say this to my teams. It's like on the 1st of July 2023, I was suddenly not allowed to be in certain rooms, and I was kicked off every Teams chat, every WhatsApp chat. And
was this a rule?
No, it wasn't a rule. It's just something that happens. So no one kicks you out, but over time you realize, oh my goodness, there's definitely another WhatsApp chat that I'm not in.
Oh, okay. No, I get that. I mean, you get the trainees chats, and then
you get the trainee chats, you get the manager chats. And you're just like, people are talking about a conversation and I'm just like, I'm not used to not being part of those conversations because like I'm easygoing, Nomtha. You could talk to me about anything. Why have you kicked me out? You know, that's been, and I don't even know if I'm answering the question you asked.
No.
That's been quite a strange move as well. And it's something I've purposefully been fighting because I don't want to feel that far removed from people. But I also understand, I suppose, the anxiety my role brings to the teams.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned how you're so relatable. And that's something we picked up in training. But I don't know, when you come into your articles, at least, you just see partners as like anything but human. They're just, honestly, they're just, at the top of the corporate ladder and you can't relate to them. You're just so intimidated.
Really?
It's just, yeah.
I hope I'm doing my bit to humanize the
No,
role.
you really are. You really are.
No, that's good. That's good. No, and I suppose it's the craziest thing how much partners want to talk to everyone.
Okay.
They do. They all do. And I experienced it when I was a manager, when I was a trainee, where everyone's like, no, just come in and chat with me or whatever. And again, you just think, it's just something they say. You don't take them up on it, right?
Yeah.
And I also think it's the conversation we have with ourselves in our heads where it just hinders you from doing anything to connect with people. And it's a crazy thing. So partners are human. They want to connect to people. And remember, they're charged with running a business that is primarily driven by people and those people being engaged. So can you imagine how that business runs without the partners knowing how those people are doing?
Yes.
It doesn't work. So
that's a good way of
next
looking
time
at
you
it.
you see a partner in the business that you're like, I don't want to go talk to them. Go talk to them. How are you? They might be too busy in a moment, but they'll remember you. And it's, I don't know. In fact, let me not preempt what it would be.
On that point of busy,
Yeah.
do you have a work-life balance, or is it just all work, no play?
I don't like the term work-life balance because I'm in constant pursuit of it. And it's not because of my workload or how difficult it is to be a partner, but it's really my lessons in prioritization. So I think prioritization is a personal and individualistic thing, right? So there are times where, because of who I am, all I have the capacity to concentrate on is work. And that's a me decision, and I give my all to that. And then there's times where I actually need my battery fueled, and I've dropped so many of my glass balls, and these are my personal relationships, that I have to extract myself from that one-track mind of work to feed into those spaces. So do I have work-life balance? Yes and no. The yes in that I am in the most flexible job there is.
Okay.
No,
please elaborate on that.
I'll get back to that. And no, in the sense of I am still learning to prioritize the things that matter, and that for me is where my balance is lacking. You're surprised that being an audit partner is the most flexible job on earth. Really? It's so hard.
From what I imagine it to
really?
be, definitely, yeah.
I actually think I've experienced flexibility since management, since I joined. Since I became a manager, I mustn't say joined because I've been with the same firm all my life.
So how do you define flexibility? Like you work when you want to work, or what?
Exactly that, because and maybe I've been fortunate in terms of the partners I've worked with and for. It's always been about the deliverable and then producing it, right? So. And it's a lot of how I manage my teams as well. Yes, we all have a deadline. We've spoken about it. We have little milestones leading up to that deadline, and this is what we all need to do. And there's obviously those connecting points where let's collaborate, and because it's not always just stuff that you do in your little corner and things like that. So because I know where we're going and what the milestones are, I can then decide when I'm going to be able to do what and still meet those milestones. So I'm at my best at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
I am at my worst at 8 p.m. in the evening. A lot of people like working from 7 o'clock right into the night. I can't do that. I need a break. I need to feel like I've taken my phone, been on Instagram, done silly things, and then slept, and then wake up and do the work, and I'm in a job that allows me to do all of that. I mean, do I want to go away with my friends and be on a working, it doesn't matter to anyone where I am as long as I'm working. And I think COVID helped quite a bit with that mindset. But I think we were one of the few professions where home was a place of work, even before COVID.
Okay, I wouldn't know because I joined after.
Home was a place of work. The client, because we've always had a 3 what do you call it? It wasn't official, but people could work from home, they could work from the office, or they could work from a client. And there's just so much flexibility. It's around, what do they say? Negotiating your own success. I will tell you when I can give it to you, and I earn goodwill by doing the things that I say I will do in the time that I've said I will do it, because that is the thing that allows people to trust you, and you can actually take control of your life. So I am definitely in the most flexible job I could ever be in.
And what kind of manager are you? Are you like the each to your own? As long as you get my work done kind of
no,
thing?
so yes and no again. I'm big on setup, because I want to walk away knowing that you know why. Because depending on when you like to work, I might not be available at that time. So I can't be a stumbling block to your progress. I need you to be able to take yourself to a certain point so that we can debrief when we meet, right? So setup is very important for me.
Okay.
But once we've done that setup, and I like throwing questions at people so that I know and get a sense of how much help they'll need, or whatever the case may be. So every individual will be different, but once that setup is done and we're comfortable, I'm going to let you do whatever you want to do. I'm big on giving trust. I don't think I'm a trust is earned person. I'm big on giving trust. The only time you'll see me in your face is if something's gone wrong, either between our communication or whatever else could go wrong in the world. So set up, but then let you be after a while. I don't like being in people's faces.
Is it?
I try to, I'm a very shy person, but I try to limit my people interactions to what is absolutely necessary.
Yeah. So doesn't that give you anxiety though, putting it in their plate? In the sense of, okay, I trust you, but trust is given, like you said, so you don't wait for it to be earned.
It doesn't. Look, we're in an environment where, think about how many layers, and this is now an inside conversation, but think about how many layers of review you have in any engagement, right? So yes, I speak to trust, but I also know we've got processes in place to pick up anything that could go wrong. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a measured trust that is given.
Okay.
So no, I don't have anxiety. And I also, the lovely thing about our space is that it's a training environment. I have made so many mistakes and have been allowed to make those mistakes right across. So I don't have anxiety about people making mistakes.
Yeah.
No.
That's really nice.
No. I'm yet to come across anything so tragic we can't come out of. Like I've never in my life. So I don't have that anxiety. That is my final answer.
Okay. So are you the one that goes with the "we're not saving lives" motto?
Look, there are generally I walked into the current engagement I'm on now. I walked into their audit room and everyone was it's crunch time. They're gonna be signing this week, I think. I walked in there, made a couple of jokes, still tense. I was just like, guys, remember it's just work. And then as I was walking, I was like, remember it's not just work, you know? So everything is context. So I'm big on and maybe the Gen Zs of the world are going to think it's crazy, but I don't subscribe to the notion that it is completely just work, because I do think work is important. It is the thing I probably spend most of my days on.
Yeah.
If I didn't think it was important, it wouldn't be worthwhile spending time on. And work comes with commitment to people. So if I ever took that commitment lightly because I've got the mantra of it's just work, then I wouldn't be able to do my job properly. So it's just work in the sense of no one dies, comfortable. But you can't have that be the thing that makes you drop the ball or be unreliable or cause anxiety in other people's lives, because in as much as it may be just work to you in that moment, you not doing a particular thing is going to cause havoc in someone else's life, and that's not right. So yes and no. It's just don't kill yourself over it, but at the same time, do your bit.
Okay.
So it's not just work in the sense of you need to show up.
Yes.
Show up and do your bit. So I feel preachy.
No, man, not at all. Not at all. Why did you choose to do your articles in audit?
At the time, and I don't know if this stands true, right? So once I figured out I wanted to be a CA, I then did the research of what does it take to be the best CA I could be.
Okay.
And the conversation at the time was tip or top or whatever the case. And I don't even remember what those acronyms are, but it was basically being in in audit as your articles in audit, or doing it in some business or the other. And at the time when I had the conversations with the people I was having them with, and I was fortunate enough to have a couple of people be interested in me asking those questions of them, everyone was just like, you just get a well-rounded experience in audit. It is probably the most difficult space to learn, but it's the stuff firm foundations are made of. So for me, that's the thing that made the decision that, I don't want it to. And I mean, we all have the same designation at the end of the day. We all subscribe to the same professional body and all of that. And there's really no real difference. But the narrative at the time was just from an experience standpoint and just forming the foundation of what it is to be a professional, because you are in an environment that is solely, I say solely, but a big chunk of what firms do is to produce CA. So I was just like, I want to be in the space where the focus of that business is also primarily to produce a CA. So that's why I chose to be in audit.
There's a lot of conversation about what Big Four firms look for in trainees when hiring. In your opinion, what do you think they look for? Because I don't think anybody has a straightforward answer.
Okay, I'll personalize it,
of course,
because each time I go, the firm looks for it, I get told now I am the firm. So
okay, okay, this is you then.
So I what do I look for? I look for.
Are you in the interview process?
Which as an interviewing, not trainees, but managers.
Okay.
But we do sort of recruitment drives, and there's always you'll go in, let's offer that one to, let's do this with this person, whatever. So what I look at is it's different with different people, but diversity is important to me.
Okay.
I like finding the kid in the corner that wasn't necessarily the person raising their hands during whatever speech that was being given, whatever the case may be, because you find it's such curious stories, and you learn so much about people. And I find if you put together people with entirely different experiences, you make magic. So for me, I don't have a prototype for what an auditor is. I'm always looking for someone who's teachable, and who wants to learn and is interested.
But how do you see that at face value? That
it's a conversation. It's not a face. So my tell becomes. They kept looking at me, but they didn't say anything.
Okay.
So I'm going to be forceful in that moment and go, hey, how are you? Where are you from? Oh, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's, So those are my tells. If I'm looking at an audience of people, and I mean, we would have done it in our BEP programs, our university visits and all of that. That kid that keeps, and I keep calling people kids, apologies, I know you are grown adults. But that person who keeps just giving you a glare or a stare, but they're not saying anything. It gets me so curious. It also doesn't stop me from engaging the people that raise their hands, but I recognize immediately that they need far less help in coming out of their shell.
I see.
So
you don't dismiss them completely.
I don't dismiss anyone, to be fair, but I mine is to make sure that I've extended myself far enough to make that uncomfortable person comfortable in that moment, and let's have a conversation. And a lot of the time, once you've had the conversation, they tell you their interests, and then you pick up the conversation from there. And you can tell, I don't know, you sit with people, you interact with them, you can tell who's interested, you can tell who doesn't care. And usually my energy is spent depending on how I feel that vibe is.
Okay, that's very interesting, because for the longest time, in my head at least, I thought that, to, stand out, ask questions, be the first, I can go first. Because I had a conversation with a friend of mine that actually went for an interview at Big Four before I did. Yeah. And she was like, okay, Balisa, this is what you're going to do. You're going to raise your hand first. You're going to answer. You're going to be proactive. And it's completely different to how the African child is raised.
Right. So, and there is a space and a place for that, right? Because... And I suppose that's why I advocate for the child that's quiet. It's because I can resonate with that so much, right? We're not raised to put up our hands. It's forward. You're not allowed to. Exactly. Why are you talking to adults like that, But that's what I like about our environment, where it brings people from all those different spaces. So what I'm always asking for from our trainees, particularly people who I do mentor, is I know it's against everything you know, but it would be silly of you to be in an environment of so many differences and learn nothing from it. So sit back in that room, recognize who in the room is always lifting up their hands, and reconcile in your mind what that does for their career, right? And let's see how we work on not changing yourself, but pulling into the. In fact, what's it about? The best way I can tell the story is, for the longest time, I was the shyest person I knew. If my dad couldn't even send me to the shop to buy airtime because my question back to him was, "Nzofika ntini? What am I going to say to that lady at the counter? I'm anxious. I have chronic people anxiety, and I didn't have a term for it at the time. But I don't want to do this, and it would be a mess because there's no parking. He can't. It was terrible. And then I also recognized that played out at school when I got to high school. It was the strangest thing where I feel like after a certain period and a certain teacher's left, I'm dissatisfied because I wanted the conversation to go somewhere, but it never did. And I feel like the right questions weren't asked. So after a while, I realized, well, the right questions weren't asked in my mind because I didn't say anything, right? So what I decided, and this was in grade 10, I decided, you know what? I am shy, but it leaves me so dissatisfied. So the thing I need to do for myself is work on how do I show up in front of people. So I remember it was like April. Or it could have been earlier, I don't remember. I was like, you know what? This is a new school. No one knows me here. I actually want to get value out of these sittings. So what I started doing is at every turn, it doesn't matter which teacher, which subject, and I don't like all of them, I'm going to raise my hands and ask the question that I want to ask. So I started doing that. Then gradually I was just like, oh, okay, I'm going to take every opportunity to be the person standing in front of the class presenting what. If we've got a group assignment, I'll be the person presenting it. And I had to do it, and I did it. Then I moved to...
And you decided that at grade 10?
In grade 10, I actively had to invest in myself because I was so dissatisfied with not saying anything. And I always got back home, kicked myself, and I'd tell my mom that, and at the time I was young and naive, and I thought it was okay to call people stupid, and it wasn't. I was like, oh, mama, their thought process. I was always challenging people's thought processes in my own head and after the fact, and telling my mom. And my mom would just be like, oh, okay. And then, so then where does the conversation go if you're not going to say anything, right? Then I started tutoring.
Okay.
I was tutoring my fellow classmates, got into grade 11. I was still tutoring grade 10s and grade 11s, got to grade 12. So every year I was tutoring, not because I was the smartest in a particular subject, but because I wanted to hone in on a skill of like being in front of people and having a conversation or presenting something. I joined debate. So from that grade 10 decision, I did everything in my power to be the person in front of anyone saying something.
Yeah.
And so taking it back to we're not brought up to be a certain way. All I'm saying is it doesn't stop us from learning.
Yeah, we need to make a conscious
It doesn't stop us from learning, because think about it. Then the conversation becomes, but Mang doesn't work and all they do is just send emails or whatever. Let's have the brains to engage. What does that kind of engagement with certain people, those emails being sent, that kind of direction, what does it bring to their career, and is it something you want to do as well? And if the answer is yes, then how about you work on being better at the thing that you weren't born to be? Because again, we're gonna get into the conversation of are leaders born or made, or whatever the case may be. I don't think there's anything people can't learn in this world. The only hindrance to learning is you deciding that you are not a certain way, and so you're not going to do a certain thing. For me, that's crazy. In a world of change, in a world of continuous learning, if we're always going to, what's the word I'm looking for? Use our backgrounds as crutches.
And limit ourselves.
It will always limit you. And I know how defining your background is, right? But I also then have experienced similarly my own life in terms of my background and how I'll come back home now and shock my dad because he saw that video that we did for our firm campaign.
Yeah.
And he was just like, who is this? He'll listen to the interactions I have with my aunts. It's so different to what I was when I was 16, when I didn't want to like talk to anyone and I was in my shell. And that's what growth is. That's what evolution is. And it's important to be invested in your growth. So
definitely.
Yeah.
What kind of trainee were you?
What does that mean?
Like,
I was an annoying trainee.
Not in terms of questions, but were you the one that gave the bare minimum?
Oh, no.
And like 4 o'clock, you clock off, it's home time?
Oh, no.
Or did you keep working?
But I trained in one of our smaller offices. I trained in PE.
Oh, okay.
There was literally, I think, in my first year, there was less than 8 of us.
Okay.
There was nowhere to hide.
Okay.
Also, there was so much work to go around that I suppose, firstly, because it's so small, teaming is easier. And so if you're going to be the person leaving at 4, what about everyone else? But it wasn't even a question in my mind. It was, let's sit down, do the work, let's get it done, see where we go. And as soon as I'm tired, and I'm going to be the one that whines the most. Guys, surely there's more to life, surely we can go home now. And I'm going to make it a team event that, guys, I'm giving up. Can we give up together? Is it okay for me to give up, So I wasn't, I was in a big teaming environment as a trainee. Again, I didn't feel like, I didn't go at it alone.
Okay.
I didn't go at it alone. There were times where we were on projects so big that it's the whole office on the same project, and that was amazing. But there were also times where we had to separate because there were smaller engagements. And because we made it a group project between us, I was the type of trainee always asking my fellow trainees, where are we going? What is this? Have you seen this? So it was, all I can think of when I think about my articles, other than the scars, sorry about that, is just the team and the hand-holding that I experienced. And I count that too. In my mind, I always say it's because it was in a small office, but the Joburg office will also argue that we're the same.
We do have an element of that.
But I think I experienced it more intimately, and it was a defining part of my articles. Big part of what drives me is...
And do you think your work towards becoming partner started in your articles?
Yes.
Or was it? Okay.
Yes. Now these are trade secrets. I'm a peer group that, wait a minute, this is probably a commodity.
Any advice to anybody that is looking to become partner
I'm
currently?
just a girl.